According to last night's episode, Aeterno MIV said that he lost his humanity, lost his body or something. Jacob stole it. And so there was a part of me that was thinking, wait a minute, Jacob stole his body. So does that mean that the body we see Jacob in now used to be MIV's body? And furthermore, let's take that a step further and say, well, what if this Jacob that we've seen touching the Losties off island is MIV? You know, in his original body before it got stolen by Jacob. And it was MIV that was actually touching all the Losties and causing them to be evil, you know, rather than good. As in, he touched Kate, he touched Sawyer. Yeah, but MIV said he lost his body, so, you know, maybe that's why he couldn't get off the island. Maybe that's what was keeping him on the island. And now that he has a body, you know, there have to be extra measures have to be taken now to make sure that he doesn't get off. But, you know, he's sent Sawyer off and done his little recon thing, and now Sawyer's, you know, basically playing both sides against each other, hoping to get away himself, which is truly, I mean, you're basically pitting two gods against each other, and you think you're going to get away? I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's hilarious, that one ending where he's like, we're not going to take the plane, we're going to take the sub. No, but I don't see Sawyer and Kate getting out of this alive. I think they're both going to die by the end of the show. I seriously do. Like, there is no future for them anymore. You know, they've basically taken Sawyer's character and just flushed him completely down the toilet now by having him sleep with Charlotte. Like, I don't know what the hell that whole thing with Charlotte was. You know, if you're going to bring her back, you know, as a way of, like, extending her story so that we find out, you know, more about her architecture, or, like, not her architecture, but what is it, her anthropology, her studies about the thing in Tunisia and all that, and she was doing that stuff, trying to find out about Dharma. You know, and I guess in this timeline she wouldn't be doing that. What would she be doing? I don't know. They said something about her working in a museum. Miles said she works there with my dad. So her and Dr. Chang work together in a museum. But there was plenty of story to tell there, but what did we see? Well, we just saw her having sex with Sawyer, and then looking around through his drawer to find his file. She might have been deliberately looking for the file, but I still, like, what, so we got to go through and find a whole story about that now, too? I don't think so. Now we also see that Widmore is here on the sub, you know, just waiting for his chance to strike. Well, he's already set himself up over at Hydra now, so all that's left is for Locke to go confront him. In fact, tomorrow's episode, the transcripts for it actually say, Locke confronts his enemy. That's basically it. Well, there's something about Jin and Sun in there too, I guess. If they're going to be the Flash sideways, they're going to find out about the Watch or something. Maybe we'll see how Pike fits into this whole thing. That would be kind of exciting to see that. But Locke confronts his enemy. People are saying, oh, is that Widmore? Is that going to be Jacob, Jack, or Ilana, or who? I think it's going to be the kid in the jungle. I mean, we got to see him again, too, don't we? You know, hell, we've seen him one time so far, and that was in, what, episode 4? You know, now we're up to episode 10 out of 16. We got to see him again. So, oh wait, no, actually 17. 10 out of 17, yeah. But that's who I think the enemy is that Locke is going to confront, not Widmore. They want us to think it's Widmore, but they're saving that for the end. That's the end. Like, that's endgame stuff right there. You know, because they can't start the war now. I mean, you know, we can't start having explosions just yet. It sure is tempting. I mean, sometimes I wish, every time an episode ends, I find myself just wishing we could see the rest of it. But, you know, then again, I know that drawing it out is so much different. It's different when you watch it on the DVDs than it is when you actually have to wait a week. I'll tell you, man. Okay, so, yeah, but what is Widmore doing there? I have no idea. There is a theory going around, and it seems to be pretty popular. I've heard it on numerous podcasts, so you're probably sick of hearing it too. But it's a good theory. The theory was that Widmore knew this was all going to happen, and that's why he was trying to take Ben off of the island at the end of Season 4, because he knew that Ben was going to end up killing Jacob. So he, you know, so he was trying to extrapolate Ben from the situation, but he didn't succeed. And Kimi ended up dying, and then they moved the island, and somehow Ben stayed on. And Ben ended up killing Jacob, but you know, if Ben hadn't been the one to do it, wouldn't Locke have just gotten somebody else to do it? I mean, he could have talked anybody into doing that, but he talked Ben into it because Ben just happens to be the one that Jacob screwed over. Well, apparently Jacob screwed over Richard too. You know, so Ben, you know, why wouldn't Locke have just gone to Richard and played the exact same cards that he did with Ben? He could have gotten Richard to kill Jacob then. And hell, Richard was going to kill himself. He felt so screwed. It just makes me wonder, you know, what was so special about Ben? Well, I don't know. Didn't Jacob say the same thing? He's like, what about you? I don't know where, like, Richard is another one of those characters that it feels like they used to be so powerful and everything, and now all of a sudden they're just like nothing. You know, it seems like every time we get a character who thinks they know everything, or it seems like they know everything, then it turns out they really know nothing. Like, we thought Ben was like the head honcho for the longest time, and now he's like just another person wandering around who has no clue what's going on. And Richard, he was some head honcho. He was a huge guy, the advisor. He knew everything. Now he's just another guy wandering around totally clueless. And like, who's going to be clueless next? Next thing you know, we're going to see Miss Hawking wandering around asking Michael why she can't kill herself with the guns. I'm telling you, I don't know. You know, who's the next to go? Are people's brains getting sucked out of their heads or something? I don't know, man. You know, and this seems to happen like with every character on the show. They start out as like a badass, like they were totally in control, and they just lose it. And Jack is the only one that seems to be going the other way. I mean, well, he started out as, he had control in season 1 up until about episode 5 when he saw his dad, and he hasn't gotten it together since then until just recently. That's kind of funny. Maybe that's like the bookends of the series, the beginning of season 1, first 4 episodes, at the end of season 6, the last 4 episodes when Jack is back in charge again. But everything in between has been Jack just running around, crying in the desert, screaming at the others like, I'll be right here! I'll be right here! And, you know, we got a Jin and Son episode coming up. I assume that it's about the watch. And the watch is what is inside of the package. It might be either that or the money. Was the money there originally? Like, you know? That's kind of another thing I'm really curious about. Because what if the money was always there? And the money in Jin's suitcase that the airport person found and he had to confiscate it? Was that money there originally? Because if it was, what if somebody found it on the island and they're still holding on to it now, waiting to play it as a card or something? Maybe Sawyer's had it all this time. Because he knows, as well as anybody else, that the money's got no value unless you get off the island, so no wonder he wants to get off, Maybe he's had it all this time, like in his little stash. Because they showed Ben going through Sawyer's stuff just a couple episodes ago. Apparently they were establishing that Sawyer's tent is still up and intact, so who's to say he doesn't have the money sitting around there somewhere, just like he had the guns all that time in his tent. He might have some money there too, the money from Jin's suitcase. If it was there originally, I don't know if it was or not, but now apparently it is. Now apparently, in this alternate timeline, Jin is taking the watch to wherever he's taking it, but he has all this money on the side that they had to confiscate. And he got in trouble for that. People at the airport took away the money, and so because of that, Jin didn't have it. So when he went to see Kimi, he didn't have the money because he said the airport people took it away. And he didn't have any way to tell him that because he didn't speak English. So he got locked in the freezer, and who knows where Son is right now. Where is Son anyway? If her husband's locked in the freezer, she couldn't be too far off, right? What's happened with her? Is she still holding out on that she doesn't know English, Is that leading somewhere? I don't know. But there's something going on with the watch. There's no telling whether it was Kimi, whether it was the watch or the money that he was sending to Kimi. But I always had this theory that Jin's watch had a tracking device in it. And Pike, or Peck, whatever, however you say the name, put the tracking device there so he could follow him wherever he goes. We saw in the original timeline that Jin gave the watch to Michael, and Michael pawned it off at some random place before he tried to kill himself. So that might have just thrown off, that might just throw Mr. Pike off and let him nowhere. So in the original timeline, Jin and Son would have just gotten away eventually, but in this new timeline, he still has the watch, and he's still being tracked. I need to go and turn this off because I'm running really late on time here. So, thanks everybody for listening. If you did, I don't blame you if you didn't, but whatever. Peace out, y'all. Can I get a good outro?